Welcome to the listening show, a show you can listen to if you would just listen. That was a pretty funny bit. I was like, come on, roll the... Like, oh, I get it now. I thought you were going to do it for much longer, like make me look like an idiot for like not... Like it's my show today. So you're going to have like 30 seconds of like just staring at you. Come on. That's pretty funny. Well, welcome to the listening show, a show you can listen to. The most innovative of podcasts, where we pioneered the ability to digitize audible voices for your consumption and commercial pleasure. Well, thank you for joining us.
I thought here's an idea of something we could talk about today. I thought about bringing it up ahead of time, but we watched Invincible. Do we want to review that? Do we want to talk about Invincible, the show?
Sure, I guess. I don't see why not. Can I summarize it since nerd over here?
Yeah, how about it?
Invincible.
Spoilers if you haven't seen Invincible and you want to.
We're not getting into spoilers yet. But
okay.
Yeah, we will, and we'll. Yeah.
No, okay. This is not spoilers yet. This is the shows. Okay.
Yeah, I was trying to. Yeah, but thank you for pointing that out. We will give spoilers at some point, but right now, not yet. Invincible is a cartoon, an Amazon Prime original, which is an adaptation from a comic book, Invincible. The first season came out, I want to say 3 weeks ago, or concluded. It was a week or 3 weeks ago, fairly recently, but not like just recently. And I started watching it because I saw the Think Mark meme. I was like, well, I want to know now, which I figured it was a season finale, but I heard nothing but good things. Like, fine, I'll watch it. And I love cartoons. And I did like it a lot. So it's a superhero cartoon that kind of is a subversion of normal comic book superheroes. I don't know much about the comic, but I know that there is more to the story than what we got, and there will be a second season. And I was going to watch a history of the comic book characters, but then it would spoil what could or probably will happen in the next episode. It's like, fine, I won't learn about these characters. I'll just wait. So, and then I was a couple episodes in, and I mentioned to you, hey, if you're bored, watch those two, and you did. And then I came back over to your house like that same day. And then I don't know if you wanted to or not, but we sat down and watched the last 6. So you watched all of it in one day, essentially. I watched the first 2 days before, but basically a day. And I think you said halfway through, you're like, this isn't great, but it's good. And then I think at the end you said, I'm glad I watched it. What'd you say at the end?
Yeah, that's how I felt then. But it always takes me a few days to process a whole show, especially if I watch it all in one day or whatever.
That's a
because
lot.
then I haven't had time to process the whole thing or whatever. Basically, how I would summarize it is like adult derivation Justice League.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like to me. It had the same sort of spirit that the old Justice League cartoons had.
Yeah.
Slightly more quality. I guess I don't know that for sure. It felt more quality to me.
It was like Justice League animated as far as some of the art style and
so
what you're used to, but cleaner. Definitely. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's better technology to make it, but sometimes it looked like Justice League, but sometimes it looked really good.
There's a couple particular. Maybe we get into spoiler territory now.
We're getting close.
There was a couple particular frames that I was like, that was beautiful animation. Like we both like, wow, that was such a cool. There's a moment where there's a big explosion. Like I don't know if it was a satellite that hit the earth or what it was. I don't remember what it was. Oh, it was like. There's a scene where there's a satellite beam that's shooting to the air the earth.
That looked good,
and the animation was incredible. Anyway, it looked great. That moment like took my breath away, and it's not a usual thing I say about cartoons.
There's a minute-long action sequence on a foreign planet. It's like a minute long, but the whole thing looks freaking great. It's the red action scene with the main character Omni-Man. Well, I take it back. Mark Grayson / Invincible, he is the main character, and then he's opposite of Omni-Man. And by the way, I said to you, because the character of Omni-Man looks like J.K. Simmons, but as a buff Superman, or not J.K. Simmons, he looks like J. Jonah Jameson from Spider-Man with that haircut and the mustache, and voiced by J.K. Simmons. And I thought, do you think they modeled this character off of J. Jonah Jameson? And because the coincidence is too high, but I think the answer is no. It is possible, but I think the answer is no because the comic book came out first. And when the comic book was made, the writer couldn't have known that J.K. Simmons would ever voice his character one day. At best, he thought, I like the look of J. Jonah Jameson's character. I'm going to make a buff one of those, but that's not likely. So most likely it's just a coincidence. But isn't that weird?
It is weird. How old is the comic?
I have no idea. I assume not old, but I don't know.
That's what I'd guess too. It felt like a lot of the ideas in this one were newer, like the last 10 years superhero ideas.
Oh, yeah. I would be very surprised if it's more than 10 years old, but I don't know. One thing I enjoyed about the show so much was world building. It's like watching, I tried to sell it to you after the first 2 episodes. I said, when you watched Avatar the first time and you see these new things, you're like, whoa, I got that with the first 2 episodes and throughout the show. So yeah, the world building was just fascinating.
It was fun.
It was fun. That's probably a good word for it. It's fun. And I'd like to see more.
I would say the precise crowd that it was made for was the kids who grew up watching Justice League and who love Justice League. I think they'd really like this show.
Yeah, but they have to be grown up now.
They gotta be
very mature. Which actually is one reason why it's so good. I think is because it's unexpected when the maturity happens, and as an audience, I'm like, whoa. And it's so it has more shock, but the storytelling is still good.
It's one of the most graphic shows I've ever watched as far as violence goes, for sure. It's disturbing at parts.
I can't think of a more graphic cartoon that I've seen. I'm not sure there might be others that exist. But
what's the Titan show? Attack on Titan. Oh. That show is the only equal I've seen as far as gore.
They have gore in that?
Attack on Titan? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Have you seen the whole show?
Not the whole show of it. I don't think I've seen the most recent season.
Because I still haven't seen any of it. I don't know anything about what it is.
Attack on Titan? Maybe we can talk about that later too, because that's an interesting topic. And I don't remember enough of it to spoil it. That's why it would be an interesting topic.
I know nothing except giant muscular skeletal humanoids that I'm assuming are Titans. That's it. That's all I know. And I want to keep it that way until I watch it one day.
We could divert onto that topic briefly and come back to this if you wanted.
Sorry, I don't know if I was pulling you away, but you were saying that you're talking about it because it's the most gory thing you can think of compared to
as far as animations go. Yeah. And I think the thing that it ties the two together in my mind is the psychological. Let's call it damage. That's not the word I mean, but like the way it affects your psyche when you watch it because of how disturbing it is the thing that's similar. I think the only the moment, okay, spoiler territory now.
You sure?
Yes.
All right.
There's a moment the big thing that you come to the conclusion of by the end of the season is that the super dad who's Omni-Man, the biggest, most powerful being on the planet, is not there for good purposes. He realized that he's a part of this, race of people who live across the universe who are super powerful and they're basically hell bent on conquering everything. And they basically assign each planet, like a bunch of these different planets, to one of these creatures, and their goal is to conquer the whole thing. And basically, anyway.
Can I expound on that?
Yes.
I'm surprised at how much I remember detail wise.
Yeah, but we don't need to tell the whole story right now.
You're right. It's not important.
So
I think you're trying to get somewhere.
Yeah. The point I was getting to, there's a moment where the kid who's the dad was training him, you basically come to the conclusion that the dad is like this, I don't know if nihilist is the right word, but he basically doesn't
dispassionate,
completely separated, you realize at some point he does not care about human life.
Doesn't have humanity.
Right. He does not value human life at all. And he represents that in a bunch of different, very graphic ways. There's a lot of scenes
and
where
subtle ways throughout the show.
Yeah, that's true. Cool. That was really cool writing too. But there are several moments where, like, the main character, the kid, is like, he works his butt off to save a human, and then the dad just comes and just, like, there's one part where the dad just crushes this guy's head. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's to reinforce the point. And he does it so flippantly that you realize, oh, he's just a monster, and he does not have any reservation about it. So those kind of moments are specifically the moment where he takes the kid and he takes him down in the subway and he holds his head out like this through an oncoming subway train and absolutely just kills a bunch of people, but using the kid's face basically. And so these bodies, this is really graphic, but the bodies are being like ripped apart on his face. And that scene had the same sort of like feel, that like that sort of way it affects your psyche, the same way the first episode of Attack on Titan did. The first episode of Attack on Titan, I don't know if it's quite spoiler territory because it's the first episode and it's like one of the first things you see. But like the initial attack where these Titans show up, you can close your ears if you don't want to hear this.
I do not want to hear it.
Don't
Fine.
close your ears.
You can tell them.
The moment in the first episode of Attack on Titan where the mom and the son are running away and one of the Titans grabs...
Blah, 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 blah. I had to take him out for an itch.
When the Titan grabs the mom and eats the mom, that was the moment that was also like, wow, that was so like starkly disturbing, especially because the animation style, it's similar. That was the same moment. You're good.
I started to read your lips. I was like, this is no good either. I gotta look away too.
It's really not a big spoil. You wouldn't be mad if you heard it.
Well,
I mean, it's just a moment that you'd look out for, and then it wouldn't quite hit you as hard.
You know, the first episode of Invincible, toward the end, the revelation that Anya isn't what he seems to be. Unfortunately, I knew that was coming because I saw it in another YouTube video reviewing just animation in general. So I was looking for it, and I was like, I enjoyed it, but I would have enjoyed it more if I hadn't known. I'd have been like,
I had seen that somewhere too, and that was what was weird. It was like, oh wait, I've seen this before. Where have I seen this? Anyway,
so I want to try to keep as much of information away as possible. All right, that's just something specific.
The other thing about comparing the two is I enjoyed Invincible more than I enjoyed Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan seems really long and drawn out, and the world building, while it's really good, Attack on Titan world building is really good, and it's very interesting. It's really dystopian, like one of the more dystopian shows I've ever seen, for sure. It's good, but I don't think it was quite as like, they didn't do this. It's so concentrated in Invincible that it's like world building, just everything builds the world more.
There's a fairly good pace. There was maybe 2 episodes where I felt like we're sidestepping for a small world story, like with the cyborgs on college campus. I felt like, okay, we're taking a break from the main story for a bit.
Or even the Martians, the Martian things or whatever. That didn't seem like the main.
The Martians.
Not the Martians, but the monsters that were on the Martian planet where they inhabited the astronaut or whatever. But both of those seem sort of like side questy.
But I can't completely, what's the word?
Fault them.
Well, sure. Because they did come back later, or they will be used later. Like the cyborgs, that was implied that the Cecil and the Secret whoever are going to use that technology to zombify their dead soldiers. So it wasn't like a one and done, it's gone. We could have just skipped this, but it did feel like, all right, let's get back to the main story. And I realized shows can't really do that. You can't typically stay, like on even Avatar: Last Airbender had to take some breaks. Yeah. Which fine, but I don't want a break. I want to go.
Yeah, no. Every show's like that. I think you will be annoyed at Attack on Titan because it's a lot of that. It's basically does a great job with the first season of setting the not the standard, but the you know what's
tone?
The tone, and you know what the threat is. You don't know where the show is going, and that's the other thing about the show. It seems a little aimless. I think that they fixed that in the newest season, from what I've heard about it. It finally, okay, there's something they're working towards, and there is the thing that keeps people watching is they introduce this mystery that it's like. That would change everything if they figured that out. And so it's still fun. I'm going to probably finish watching it at some point. It's just also kind of heavy and gory, and it's a lot.
I do want to watch it sometime. The gore in Invincible did not bother me.
It didn't bug me either so much.
Which is kind of interesting because I can't imagine a sort of animation maybe that would be disturbing. It's not that Invincible's gore wasn't disturbing. What's strange about it is the animation style, I think is the right word, really was akin to Justice League to me. Like the type of lines and the frame rate when the heads turn, and even like the physique looks what would be animated in Justice League. So when I saw the gore, it just felt like a natural progression of what I'm familiar with, even though I hadn't seen gore like that before. Yeah. Didn't bother me. It was shocking. The first time I was like, you didn't know it was coming. Whoa, but I don't know what. I've seen like a drawing of the Titan. I assume that's a Titan, and I'm like, if it's different, whatever. Can't remember where I was going with that.
Yeah, it's Attack on Titan has you suspend disbelief even more than Invincible does too, because it's very involved in intricate world building, and it doesn't make a lot of logical sense. Like one of the key things, like what would you call the thing, like the avatar state in Avatar? That's like the thing that gives the person power. That's the main thing, that like the main tool that the main characters use or whatever. Or bending in this case.
Yeah. It's like the Force in Star Wars.
Yes. What would you call it? It's like the token, the key token. That's the difference thing.
I'm sure the word exists. I don't know off the top of my head, but at least let's call it the Force, just so you can continue with your point, so we can have a conversation.
In Attack on Titan, their whole thing is that certain people, and you figured that.
Don't spoil it.
Close your ears.
All right.
Because this is important to my point.
All right,
the main thing, the main tool that the main characters use in that is how certain people, when they like draw some of their blood, they turn into Titans and can fight Titans better. So that whole thing, okay, you're good. So using that, I almost needed to tell you, almost needed to hear that for you to hear my point, but everybody else will hear the point. The point that tool, the Force in Attack on Titan, it's so ludicrous that it doesn't, they can't even, at least superheroes, that's an established thing. They have superpowers and we get that. But it's almost, it's a little.
Are you saying the Force, quote, in the Titan world is dumb and doesn't have, because I think
they don't explain it.
Okay.
It's consistently weird, but it's weird.
Well,
it doesn't make sense.
That sounds like a problem. I mean, so the Force in the original Star Wars trilogy is such a fascinating thing because it was not well defined.
Right.
And yet
it worked.
Yes, when someone used the Force even in a new way, you didn't question it and go, well, if, for example, if you can do that with the Force, why didn't they do it before? That never happens because whenever you create a world and do world building, you have to have rules, which means the writer knows this and this is not possible. So I will introduce these rules whenever I want, but the rules will never contradict. So when a new thing is presented, you go, well, that's awesome. But you never go, wait a minute, which the new Star Wars movies started to do that. They started introducing new powers. And it's like, well, if you could do that, then this doesn't make sense anymore. So Avatar, I think, had good rules. At least The Last Airbender, I can't think of anything that was conflicting with their Force, you know? And so, for example, at the end of the Avatar, they introduced, what do you call that? Bending. Energy bending. Sure. So, but that's okay, presumably, because that was already in the mythos and the lore and the rules. And so if you want to save bits of information from the audience and the story and implement it later, great. That's always fun. But if you make something, once you start telling your story, it's almost impossible to write new rules.
Yep.
And I think a lot of shows are just, and movies just get lazy.
Yep.
And then they compromise their storytelling by trying to. Anyway, so I'm guessing that's the problem that show has. Is it seems like they never.
My point.
Yeah.
So they basically in Attack on Titan they use their Force, and they don't explain how it happens. It just sort of happens, and then the audience is like, "Wait, why is this?" And it's cool and interesting, but it's so jolting that it's like, but they don't explain it at all. But to their point. Maybe they'll explain it eventually, but it happens decently early, and I think it's season 1 where that starts happening. But it's like 3 seasons later, and they haven't even made hints at trying to explain it. It's just part of what happens now.
Well,
and it's at least it happens to multiple people. Multiple people are involved in the same Force, that thing that happens.
Thanks for keeping it vague for me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. And so at least it's consistent across the board, but it's consistently vague on why. I think that part of the mystery is that like when they discover some information that it's like, oh, maybe this will help us figure it out. And so I'm guessing that a main part of the story is them solving that mystery.
You mentioned the 3rd season. How much of it have you watched?
I think I've watched definitely 2 full seasons, and I think they just came out with the 3rd season. I'm not sure. It's either the 4th or the 3rd, and I don't remember if I've seen 2 whole seasons or 3 whole seasons.
Are you planning to start over or just pick it up at 3 and go, oh, wait, I've seen 3 or whatever? And
I'd tell you what, if you're going to watch through it, I'd watch through it again with you just so I can get a refresher before I watch it. Yeah.
That sounds like fun.
It does. It's another, I've already said it, but it is heavy. Like it's like when I was watching it, I watch it late at night, and for like the 2-month period that I was watching it regularly, I felt just kind of just dark and down.
It's the equate. What's the word? Equal to it is
equivalent.
Akin. That's the word. It's akin to having a bad dream. Even if you don't remember it, you wake up and you just feel messed up for the day because of that. The world feels wrong because of the dream. So that's the.
It is
that's what some shows can do to you. You say they affect your psyche, which isn't wrong, but that's how I would relate it to people. It's like having the after effects of the feelings.
It's like an emotional hangover.
Yes, that's a great one.
Yeah, it's sort of like because it's a dark. There's not a lot of hope in that show. It's a lot of suffering, and it's a lot of just being fearful. And anyway, you get a little tinge of hope when they discover the Force thing, but then the Force thing doesn't make quite sense or whatever. So anyway, I'll explain. You'll understand it whenever you watch it because you'll be.
I feel like Attack on Titan's been out for years.
I think it has.
If that's the case, I'm surprised that it's still going.
Well, they took a very long break. Like,
okay.
Like, I don't know. Don't judge me if I'm wrong, but I get the impression it was like almost 10 years, if not more.
Interesting.
Between season 2 and 3 or 3 and 4, whatever the last break was. Because it was big news. It was big news when they came out with the third season.
When they said they're coming back.
Yeah. I think this is just how my impression of it. I could be totally wrong, but my impression was that this was like a Japanese show, and then a bunch of like the anime fans who found it in America liked it so much that after like they published the first 2 seasons, and it didn't do great or what. This is my impression. I might not have it. They finally adapted it into the English dubbed versions or whatever, and then it caught on even more. And then they said that they do another season. I don't know. That's the impression I got.
Speaking of cartoon shows that I don't know about, but I'm interested in. Well, it's not a cartoon, it's an animation. The Star Wars animations. They're
the Clone Wars.
Yes, but there are several names. I know one of these shows got canceled and then got brought back because fans wanted it so much. But I think... I'm sure it exists. I want a YouTube video that explains this stuff. So like the Star Wars saga, for example, you understand it, right? Episode 4, 5, and 6 came first, and then 1, 2, 3, and then that's confusing to anyone. That cartoons kind of like that because I know there's at least a couple of them. One there's a spinoff that lasted like a season or 2, and then there's one that was bad then got good. And I see memes about it all the time, and I like that Star Wars stuff. I would watch it if I knew what to watch. I don't understand. I'm too lazy to look up the, not discography, but learn, you're supposed to watch it in this order. And you can skip this show because that one doesn't connect to this one, and it's bad. If I knew that, I'd go watch it, but it's going on still right now, although I think it's the last season, so I could probably catch up. I don't know. What's a show? Can you remember a show that came out that was airing currently, but you hadn't been watching it, but then you joined it and tried to catch up to where everybody else was? Because I know I did that with Breaking Bad. It was like halfway through and people were just kept talking like, fine, I'll watch it. So I had to speed up and then I caught up. Actually, it was more than halfway through. It was like in the last season, I caught up just in time. So that was interesting. Can you think of a show?
I did that with A Good Place.
That's a show?
Yeah.
Who stars in that? Because I'm thinking of A Quiet Place.
A Good Place is, who's Dax Shepard's wife? What's her name?
I don't know who Dax Shepard is.
Frito.
Oh, I don't know his wife.
Kirsten. Oh, what's her name? She's the blonde girl from the commercials.
So it's a female-led show?
Yeah. It's got Ted Danson. He's the main angel guy, one of the main characters. It's The Good Place is about people who die and supposedly go to the good place, like heaven or whatever.
Oh, I don't recognize this at all.
Yeah, there's anyway. That's the premise of the show at the beginning. You haven't seen it, so I won't spoil it. It's not. I don't think it'd be your speed, so I'm tempted to just tell you about it because it is funny.
Well, I wasn't wanting to know about the show. I just wanted to know if there was a show that you had, jump into.
That was one.
Did you finish it?
Yeah, Schitt's Creek too. Yeah, Schitt's Creek was that way too. I started that one in the middle, and now I'm caught up. I think they're both funny. They're both funny like that. Brooklyn Nine-Nine was another one. All of those were like kind of the same comedy vein of shows, and I watched them all, and they're all funny. Yeah, Brooklyn Nine-Nine is really funny. I don't know what's funnier between all three of those.
I had a question. What's his name? The lead, Andy Samberg?
Yeah.
Something like that. So I like Hot Rod, which he also leads. I know the humor in it is dumb, but I still like it. My question is, between the show and the movie that he leads in, what's the difference in humor? More specifically, which one has better humor?
Hot Rod has funnier humor, but basically Brooklyn Nine-Nine, you can tell it's the same.
Is some of the
Same
humor,
humor,
the
but
same?
it's more matured.
Okay.
And he's the.
Oh, sorry. I was like, oh, there goes my belly.
I think his character is sort of like if his other character grew up and got a cop job, more or less, because he's kind of dumb, but he's also really competent at his job, kind of thing.
Maybe he's juvenile, but competent at his job.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I get that.
So he's actually a pretty good detective, and he solves a lot of cases, but he's also kind of whimsical, and you know, he doesn't like to do paperwork. He just wants to have fun and goof around.
Is he mildly narcissistic, kind of like Hot Rod's character, where he thinks he's so great?
Yeah, but he actually follows it up, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not his main character. His main characteristic is he's fun and charming and very funny and wild. And the thing about Brooklyn Nine-Nine that's great is the character balance is perfect.
So they all work off of each other.
They all are great together.
Everything that you want in a show, they're all fulfilled within the characters and how they talk to each other. And you got the funny guy, the straight guy, and how they work off. Yeah.
The nerdy guy, the buff but timid guy, and then the captain who's like he's the funniest.
You show me so many clips of the captain. What's his name?
Captain Holt.
Holt. Yeah.
He is so funny. He's one of the funniest. Why is no one having
a good time? I specifically requested it or something like that.
I specifically requested that everyone have a good time.
And then your favorite bit is riding on the window. Case! It kind of goes to him. Case! Yeah. And I watched enough of that clip to understand. It's stupid. No, it's funny.
Yeah, if you watch that show, you would realize how funny that character, because there are 1,000 things that were some of the funniest things I've ever laughed at, and all of them were probably said by him to some degree.
I've watched just clips of him. I know I have, of just lines he's said.
Yeah, and the way he delivers.
Whoever's making his famous rice was one of them.
Yeah. His
voice is
He has a nemesis, and he's like, his whole character is funny already because he's like this very stoic and kind of boring sounding guy, but he only says interesting things, and he's gay. Mm-hmm. And he's very juxtaposed in a bunch of weird ways, so you don't exactly get to pinpoint him. But that's why he's so interesting and confusing, and everybody loves him because he'll just when you think, he has very strong opinions, but they don't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I definitely get that description that you can't quite pin him down. Yeah. I haven't seen the show, but I've seen lots of clips of him, and that's why I think he's entertaining.
Yeah. He has an arch nemesis for some reason, and those are the funniest episodes.
What's the arch nemesis' name?
It's her. Her name is.
It is a her. Okay, I remember this.
I can't.
She's like another captain at some other department.
Yeah, and the way he delivers his lines to her are great. It's Beelzebub, or whatever. Like I just wish I could.
Right. He mocks her by not calling her Satan, but like inferring that she is the devil. Mm-hmm. While trying to be professional, or just weird, stupid, mildly juvenile.
Yeah. Where did you get that from? Hell.
I remember that.
Yeah.
His deliveries are great.
Yeah, his delivery is perfect because his eyes are really intense, and his face, he hardly ever smiles. I don't know that he ever smiles.
He rarely ever emotes.
I don't think he ever
straight.
Yeah,
and boring. Yeah,
unless it's like angrily, but it's usually angrily at funny things. Like his dog's name is Cheddar. And it's great. The way he says cheddar is great. And because I think the best part about it is that he's so opposite of Andy Samberg's character, because Andy Samberg is never not emoting.
Yeah.
And he is never emoting, but they're both ridiculous. And so it's those two in the room together also makes just great conversations, because one is doing this for the sake of doing this, and the other one is doing this because that is what he does. And he delivers lines like this. Sometimes. And it's great. It's really great. I highly recommend that show if you want to watch a comedy.
Okay.
Yeah. We totally got off of Invincible. Were we done with that one?
What
was your assessment of that show, Invincible?
I thought I liked it, and I didn't say this, but I kind of said as much. I'm looking forward to seeing more.
Yeah, that's my conclusion.
Yeah.
It's one of those that I like exploring the idea, like the theoretical that they came up with, that if you lived on the planet forever and your whole duty to be there was to conquer it or whatever, then at some point you would completely distance yourself from valuing human life or whatever. I've always liked that idea. It's sort of like taking nihilism to its extreme, but then pumping that person full of like, you know, all the superpowers and power that you could possibly manage and nobody can match it. And then just it's like a case study. If you threw a nihilist who had lived for thousands of years onto a planet and then basically said, what would happen? And you have nothing to stop you. Basically, it's so interesting.
It's kind of like, I know
devastating.
I know the story has been told. I know it has a name, but there's different timelines in the universes, and there's at least one that explores the idea of what if Superman was evil.
Yeah.
And there's nobody who can stop him.
Brightburn is what it's called. Well, that's one of what it's called.
Yeah,
there's a movie called Brightburn that it's about when Superman's a kid and he's troubled. And I've not seen it. It's like a horror movie.
And I showed you the movie when, in this version, he landed in Russia and grew up a communist.
Yeah, that one's cool too.
It's interesting ideas. But there was a different one that I was thinking of name-wise. Not important. The point is, yeah, it's like they took the idea, what if Superman was evil? But let's put a twist on it. Not only did he not grow up on Earth, he grew up on another planet. So he doesn't have his humanity like Superman does because he grew up here. Not only that, but he is pretending to be a superhero, essentially.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was fun.
That's the thing I don't understand.
What sucked, though, is we guessed it. I was like, or at least I did. I said, I think he's from they're a conquering empire, and he's just pretending to be a hero. But I wasn't disappointed.
Yeah.
I still liked it.
They at least justified that, of course, this person wouldn't have feelings. He didn't have any qualms with murdering half of his own race, and so he wouldn't care at all about pesky little human like you. And
17 years on Earth is nothing compared to, I don't know how many, at least 1,000 years that he's been alive. So this is nothing to him.
Yeah,
so it makes sense.
It does. They do a good job justifying that. What I don't understand is why he'd ever be. Now, this might be part of the mystery that's solved later on in the show too. But why he'd ever be incentivized to pretend to be a human or to have a wife and a family or whatever.
Yeah, I was like, why did you get married?
Why didn't you just conquer everything if you didn't care about it anyway? And so I guess that they're trying to introduce the idea of emotional incongruencies. You know, the inner battle or whatever with his consciousness. You know, trying to imply that maybe seeing humanity and seeing the flaws of it and how short it is or whatever made him have an appreciation for life, and he's sort of struggling with. Maybe that's what brought up the whole.
Maybe, but I think we're missing. I think they told us, just didn't pay attention. There was a crucial piece of information as to why they don't just show up at a planet and immediately wipe it out. He said something about getting the planet ready.
Oh, letting it advance as much as possible or whatever.
No, it was or was not about like Invader Zim. I'm going to get the planet ready for conquering. Like, I want to take out their heroes. But even if that was the case, why not just do it right away? The best I got, and I don't like this answer, is because
part of it was like they were advancing. They wanted their species to be the most prominent and skilled. They wanted to adopt all of the most powerful characteristics they could as a people. And so maybe he was there studying what's good about human. I don't know.
Maybe,
what's good about humans.
But the deal as far as our empire is, we will give Viltrumites. We'll give the humans, if they agree to our empire, we'll give them our technology and we'll give them protection as long as they do whatever we want. It wasn't about getting the human stuff, although they would inevitably, if there was something the humans had, it was valuable to take it because they own Earth.
Right.
In that exchange.
I think that makes more sense.
But I don't understand why he pretended to be a hero at all. It must have had something to do with knowing everything about the planet, and it'd be, I guess, maybe be easier to take down if he didn't just show up attacking. If he just got friendly with them, and then one day,
well, at least it only left two mysteries in that show, and at least they were congruent with each other, or at least theoretically, because the two mysteries it left are why he ever pretended to be human and why he left at all.
He didn't pretend to be human.
Or you know what I mean? Why did he pretend to be a good superhero who was there for people? And then the other mystery is why, after beating the living tar out of his kid within inches of his life and killing thousands of people, did he just leave the planet? And it shows.
I think I get it, but go ahead.
I mean, yeah, it's implied why you'd get it because there's emotional confliction or whatever, and
he's got just enough humanity. That's why he got just enough humanity to at least stop what he's doing on Earth. I think it's a good description. He was truly conflicted.
Right. I think, well, and it's implied that as soon as his kid gets superpowers and maybe he realized, he's a Viltrumite, like that he's going to have these powers. It's like he was reminded of maybe he was just living this way because it felt good to be the only one who had this power or whatever on this planet. And then when there's another one, you realize, I have to deal with this. I don't know. Maybe it was obvious that then he was reminded that I need to do my job or whatever. I don't know. It's there's only 2 mysteries though. And it was why he'd ever feign goodness at all.
I also didn't get that.
Yeah. And then at least they could be both, that he saw that it'd feel good to have a human type life or whatever.
I know there was an information dump in the last episode when Omni-Man finally talks to his son, tells him the truth. He explained why he had to wait for him to grow up and then find out if he would get his powers. I assumed it was going to be because I need your help to take over the world, but it's not. That wasn't it. It was, I want your help to take over because you're my son. I would like to have your help doing it. So I understood the 17 years of, I may as well play it safe and pretend to be good. But before that, it didn't make sense. He arrives on Earth. And it shows a montage of him saving people, and then he sees his future wife. So he's already choosing to pretend to be good, even though he doesn't have a son yet, and he doesn't have a wife. So he chose to do this for some reason already. I didn't get it. But once he had the kid, now I understand why you're not going to take over the world yet. You're going to wait until your son gets his powers, if he will. He said something about because of our DNA, you're basically completely a Viltrumite. Mm-hmm. But that made sense. But before the wife and kids, I don't know why he pretended to be nice.
I guess it could go along with what you were saying about how the whole goal of the Viltrumites is to go to the inhabited planets and then basically get their servitude for all intents and purposes and own their planet.
Earn their trust, infiltrate it. It was like Invader Zim is what I put it akin to. I don't know if that's the case. And I don't know if this is true too. They said that it only takes one to take over a planet. But I thought they also said that their job is to get it ready for... It's both. He could destroy the planet or get it under control, and then the Viltrumite army can come and enslave it. He can't enslave the planet, but he can subjugate it. He can destroy it and ruin all their crap. So I don't get it. Sure is a good reason. That's a big thing to leave out.
Let's hope there is, because that would be good writing if there was. No, I liked it. It was a fun theoretical. It's another superhero show or whatever, but it's like it's different than the other ones for sure.
What's fun, part of the world building, is the powers. A lot of powers you've seen before. Like we kept saying, that one's Scarlet Witch. That one's Batman. That one's Dead Man. I know, recognize
Starfire.
Sure, yeah. But there are a lot of new fun mixes you couldn't do in an established world like DC or Marvel where the powers are already being used. So you could start over. Which I thought was funny that even though they had the powers and I got to start over, they chose to make some that were almost exactly like other characters, which I think they did as part of a subversion, like War Woman, who is obviously Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm. They killed her off right away.
Yeah.
I think that was part of
the... It's a nod to the other one. It's for sure a nod.
I think it's also like
tip of the cat.
Oh, you think we're ripping them off? No, they're dead. Surprise, we're doing something else. Like, okay, I guess. Who else was on there?
Like the Flash, the Red Rush, or whatever his name was. Flash was there.
I want to, like, some of that little bit of
Martian
lore.
Manhunter.
Yes. And the Martians. And they're shapeshifters. Like,
same thing, yeah.
Some lore I want to understand, because it went by so quick, was Immortal, when he was brought back to life by the Blue Twins. It showed like a flashback of him something and then dying and I was like, okay. And I was like, oh wait, that was Abe Lincoln. Like, oh my gosh, he's Abe Lincoln. And then I thought about later because I was digesting it. And I was like, I'm still understand what's happening, because the first guy, I think he came across a power like as a caveman.
Yeah.
But then if you're resurrected, what are the conditions for resurrection? Because Cecil and his gang tried to revive Immortal, but they couldn't do it. It took the genius of the Blue Twins to do it. It's like he had never been killed that gruesomely before. And if Abe Lincoln died, Abe Lincoln wasn't a big buff flying dude. He was just living out a normal life. So do his powers change? Did he pretend to be normal as Abraham Lincoln? Is he reincarnated? So there's something big I don't understand, but like, it's still a cool idea.
Yeah, I get the idea that he just wanted a regular life for a little bit, and so he was Abe Lincoln, and then when he died,
that was his way of saving the world or helping the world was by being the president. I get that, but I guess he had to hide his powers, like strength and flight, but there was a civil war going on. You might think it'd be helpful to, but then he's the president,
punch the racists,
so he can't fly. I don't know. I guess the point is, as the president, he chose to not use his powers. I don't know. Maybe
who knows? Maybe he was secretly at night carrying a bunch of people through the Underground Railroad.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But don't they a fun story? It's like, turns out Abe Lincoln was a superhero. We watched all those stories.
There's like 5 frames of a picture, and that we both saw. Wait, he was Abraham Lincoln. That's what it's implying.
Which I like information dumps like that. They give you some fun stuff, and they give you some questions. And go, oh,
yeah. It made me interested in the idea of whatever his name is, like the Immortal origin story or whatever. That they did a good job of making me interested to know more.
That's a world building,
right? And that's
new ideas. And I don't know of a superhero character that does anything like that. But I don't understand. I don't understand. But I want to know more. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole episode was basically one long fight scene, and which
was good. He had like at least three different fights. Omni-Man had to fight the kaiju. He had to fight the laser in space. He had to fight Immortal. And then he had to fight Invincible. I don't know if he fought someone else he might have, but there's a lot of Omni-Man fights.
And he beat the tar out of everybody.
Of them,
including thousands of people in like wrecked Chicago. It was like intimidating.
I'm glad because, I think you knew as much. Omni-Man was almost certainly going to have to fight Invincible at the end. Yeah. And I was like, if they fight right away, Invincible's going to lose.
He has to.
So I was like, well, I guess they have to give Invincible a chance by wearing down Omni-Man by he also fought Cecil. Technically, Cecil was just teleporting out of the way, but he had all these fights to get to Invincible. And I was like, okay, that makes sense because you would never even believe Invincible would have a chance. But now he's worn down. His eyes were like broken in by Immortal. By the time he got to fight with Invincible, so you're like, all right, maybe there's a chance. And then he still won. Like, okay. I was more for it that way. The fighting was justified. It wasn't just because, we kind of have to have him fight his way.
Well, and they did do a good job of establishing the limits of Invincible's power because that was one thing that bugged me, even though I was like, at least it's consistent. But he got beat up a lot. Like he got beat a lot. Invincible's character did, and so there was no hope when they were like, all right, Invincible's gonna fight his dad now. Then it was just like, well, he's gonna lose. He's lost to humans. He's not gonna beat the Omni-Man, Anyway, so
something that wasn't in the show, I saw in that review about the cartoons. The Viltrumites, they get more powerful as they get older. He said in the show, as you get older, you age slower. So he looks like maybe he's 45, but he's probably 1,000. But as they get older, they get stronger.
Okay.
So it really does lend to the philosophy that the strongest survive on their planet when they kill each other off, because then the old guys are like super powerful or whatever. So anyway, not only was Invincible new, it was objectively weaker. The other thing was I was confused as to how the powers work completely, because in the beginning, Omni-Man got wrecked killing the Guardians. He was in the hospital. Invincible too, when he got wrecked by the War Beast, he went to the supposedly dying. He went and he just came back and he was fine. He has teeth knocked out. He was fine. Were the
Viltrumites?
Were the Viltrumites recovery due to their supernatural healing abilities that they never said that they had, or was it just the super medical awesome stuff that Cecil had that brought him back all the way? I didn't know which one. I was like, I assume he's like Superman. They just has good healing, but they didn't say that.
No, I get the impression that they're just basically very, very, very strong versions of people who can fly, and it just.
But I gotta think their healing is a little bit better.
Who knows?
I don't know.
He had surgery like a normal person or whatever.
Yeah, but
stuff like that.
Maybe I'm just being too critical. But Mark, for example, when he got sliced down the abdomen, whatever, I was like, as soon as he sits up, he's like, ugh. But no, he just got up out of bed like he was fine. I'm like, how healed are you? You can't.
Yeah, he could also fly, so he could just float around.
Same with Omni-Man. He was laying there for a bit just by getting punched, and that seemed more believable than getting sliced.
Yeah. I guess that makes more sense.
Then maybe I'm looking too hard. Maybe it's also like, no, they heal really fast. They're Viltrum. I was like, okay, great. No, I didn't know that.
Well, in Passage
they didn't
of
establish
time,
it.
Well, Passage of Time wasn't very clear in that episode either.
Yeah,
so
none of the episodes actually.
It's possible he was there for weeks or whatever, and then they did have a section even after he got out of the hospital where he was taking it easy. That was the episode they went to the campus or whatever. And then they fought like the robot people, and he was still injured while he was fighting them. You could tell like he wasn't 100% still. So there's a degree of healing that like Superman wouldn't have. Superman's just like better unless Kryptonite's around, and at least there is a rate that you get better at or whatever. Yeah, one thing that I thought about was the pink girl, whatever her name was, the one who can Adam
Eve. Yeah, I couldn't freaking remember her name.
Like her superpower is way overpowered.
It really is, but
she could just rip Omni-Man up just with her mind.
Well, that's
because like she literally affects molecules and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know why she doesn't do that. I guess her powers aren't clear, or the writing is really dumb. Like you said, if she can do that, that's a problem in world building. When you go, well, if this is possible, then why don't they do this?
Yeah,
it's kind of like Scarlet Witch, which she's super powerful, but she's more powerful than that. But at the same time, I can't say she's too powerful, because imagine she takes a bullet to the head, she's dead. Because she's not super strong necessarily. She just has manipulation.
Yeah.
Which I always wondered about in movies like Marvel movies and stuff. Is like, they're still just people. Like Black Widow, you can just dodge bullets, and what's her name? Adam, you can just put up walls. Like just one bullet though.
Yeah.
That's Batman. Batman, just one bullet to the head, but he's just too good to get shot. It's like, all right. So they're not, the problem is now your power is kind of luck.
Yeah.
It's not, right. I'm not sure which one's worse. Invincibility, like Omni-Man, bulletproof, or luck. Both of them aren't very good, but I think luck is worse.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So
she is very powerful. That power is super.
She like made trees and like planted gardens with her mind.
And then I was like,
wait, if you could just change matter.
She made life. I was like, damn, life? It's like, why don't you just make electricity? And then she did. She made like string light bulbs. Like, well, that's stupid.
Yeah. If you could do that, you could just rip apart Omni-Man with your... Yeah, you could just rip apart Omni-Man with your mind.
But that's a good point. Why don't you just dematerialize somebody?
Yeah. I don't know.
Why do you even bother putting up pink walls? You just go ash. Like, why don't you? I don't get it.
Yeah.
So that's a good point you made. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
Oops. And maybe here's the thing. Maybe the rules are established that you can't.
I thought about this.
Take away life.
Yeah, maybe
they haven't established those rules.
Yeah,
maybe they exist.
I did just think about, technically we only saw her like make things. But wait, no, she took away like the door when her dad wanted to come out.
Right. Well, she changed it.
Yeah,
to
she
a
can
wall.
change. Well, you could still change.
But she doesn't use that in combat. She doesn't manipulate matter. She just makes pink shields and lasers.
Maybe it's just carbon life form. No, because plants are carbon.
Yeah, she made plants. I was like, oh, that's a problem. She can make life.
Yeah.
God damn.
Anyway.
Yeah,
big incongruency.
This is kind of like we talked about after we watched Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah.
And we're like, wait, how can Flash run fast and talk in slow-mo? And you realize how dumb we're. Oh, no, it makes perfect sense.
What's funny is I put that clip on TikTok without the clarification, and when we figured it out, and everybody who's commented on it was like, that's so smart. I didn't even think of that. But we both like thought it through, and we're like, oh, actually, we're dumb. And it makes sense. Because he's running fast. We would hear it.
That's so stupid.
Yeah. It's not like time around.
The reason I brought that up because I was thinking maybe there's something super simple we just are overlooking with Adam Eve. I don't think so, but it's possible.
Yeah, I can't think of it. Yeah, I liked her character. I didn't like.
You liked Adam Eve?
Yeah.
I didn't care about her. I can't say she was bad, but I just didn't care. I
liked her
thought she was
better
going to
than
get killed by Omni-Man. I thought in the beginning that the love triangle with Mark and the girl he was dating, I can't remember her name, I thought that was going to end. It was going to end with, or get together with Adam Eve, and then Omni-Man's just going to kill her in front of Mark because, like, she's not important.
I hope that happens because I don't like.
I think it still happen, but I doubt it now.
I don't like that girl.
I thought you just said you like her.
No, I like Adam Eve. I don't like the girlfriend.
Right. I don't like her either.
She's dumb. She's. This is a complaint in general, but like people, like whenever he was finally like, "I'm a superhero," and she's like, "I know."
I hate you mad. For it. Yeah, I was like, God damn it, this is so
like,
stupid.
Why didn't you communicate? Oh, you're mad at him for not communicating that when you could have just as easily been like, "Hey, by the way, I know that you're busy with all this stuff." I'm like, also, that's like a big peeve of mine. It's like you want him to communicate better when you could have just done it. Yeah. He was not communicating for a reason. You had no reason not to.
Two things. She's mad at him for not reading. So she's mad at him for not reading her mind, and also put him in a lose-lose situation.
Yeah.
Tell me or don't tell me, I hate you. Like, that's why I was mad. Like, he has, what can he do? You just hate him, whatever. So
anyway, it's a stereotype that girls do that stuff.
Yeah.
And it annoyed me that they had a character do that because I was like, I mean, guess technically if people believe in the stereotype, which it's a stereotype for a reason. I'm not saying I agree with it, but there's a reason when people are like, there's no winning with you. That's why I was like, I hate that. And I don't like her now. Because it's like, what do you expect?
I'm disappointed that neither of the girls died. The only girl that died, the only character girl that died was War Woman. And
there's a lot of girls that died.
A lot of girls died.
Yeah.
We need better representation. More girls need to die in these shows.
They definitely had, like, they did not shy away from like shock gore kind of stuff. Like there was a whole lot of scenes where he'd try to save people and then they would end up dead. And in graphic ways.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just desensitized. I certainly am to a degree,
sure.
But it wasn't like, it didn't make me feel sick or bad. It was just like, wow, it's really gory.
Just sad, yeah.
In the rating for the shows, it said sexual content. And I was like, where's the sexual content? And I don't remember it ever happening. No. There was kissing.
No, there was like one or two sexual jokes, but they were like with the
maybe parents. That's what it was. It was the jokes. I don't know, but even then it wasn't. It wasn't explicit at all.
Not at all. Like that would have been. I think one of the episodes said some gore, and it was like a lot of gore, and then it said sexual content too. But I think the word
sex was mentioned 2 or 3 times in the whole show.
Yeah.
Anyway, that whole sexual content, if that was in Justice League, it would have been edgy, but not.
It basically was. In Justice League,
edgy, but it wasn't sexual content.
Yeah.
Heck, Justice League had kissing. I mean,
yeah.
They had innuendos too. They had sexual innuendos.
They had a lot
pretty
of
funny
those.
Ones, actually. Yeah. The kinds where as a kid you don't get, and it's like, wow,
you got away with that.
It's great stuff.
Yeah,
like one of them was Flash. It's like talking to the guy, to the girl, like that's why I'm the fastest man alive. She goes, maybe that's why you can't keep a date. And he's like, yeah, hey, and then it moves along. And those kids are like, I don't get it.
Yeah. And they're like, why? Because he runs away from them fast? Like, I can't think of any other reason.
Because they can't keep up. Because that's why I can't keep a date.
They can't run as fast as him. That's why.
One of my favorite lines or parts in that show is Warhawk. I think that's her name. In Green Lantern, which is I can't remember his name, but they're a love interest. Batman who knows everything. The couple's in an elevator. I think they're about to kiss. Then the elevator opens and Batman walks in and goes, glad I caught you before you did something stupid. And he just goes on with what he's about to say. I don't know why he's so happy. He's like, yeah, you can't kiss because I'm a kid. Kissing is bad.
You can't kiss.
Stop doing that.
Yeah.
Then Batman just
it's against the law. Yeah, Batman always does that. But Batman and Wonder Woman have several innuendo moments, if I recall.
Depends on the
usually it was just like sexual tension stuff, but there wasn't maybe a ton of innuendos.
I wouldn't call it that. In the cartoon Justice League, JLA, would not call it sexual tension. There's romantic interest between those in that storyline. In other ones, it's
But that's what the same.
In other ones, it's
yeah.
Superman and Wonder Woman. Another one, it's her and Aquaman. That's in the flashback paradox timeline, whatever. So there's different versions, but
Weird.
yeah, it's weird. And there was another one with her and Superman. Anyway.
Yeah. Huh. Yep. My overall conclusion was I like edgy superhero stuff, and so I really liked.
It was fun,
Invincible.
and it was certainly intelligent enough.
Kept my interest the whole time, basically.
Basically, yeah.
I can't say that because there were times when I'd like look away or whatever, and I'd listen.
And you go, "What happened?"
Right?
Because you're looking at your phone.
I thought about it. I was like, "That's not true." It didn't keep my interest the whole time, but it left me with the same feeling that a show I enjoyed leaves you with. So yeah. The first episode, it was I totally disconnected. You had said, "Why don't you watch the first 2 episodes and I'll come back tonight and we'll watch the rest of it." And so I started playing it like right after you left. And I watched like the first 10 minutes or whatever. And then I sort of like was listening, but not paying attention. Like the last thing I remember was him throwing the garbage bag into space. And I was like, okay, he has his powers now, whatever. Now they're going to do stuff. And then there's going to be something that happens at the end of the episode. So I'll pay attention then. Because that's literally what happened. You know, whatever happened. And, you know, there was some family building and world building, whatever. That was just normal. I'm a school kid, but also a superhero. And how am I going to manage that?
Yep.
And so anyway, that was all quirky and stereotypical and, you know, anyway. But then at the end of that episode is when the mystery happens about Omni-Man just absolutely wrecking all the superheroes it just established. And it is intense because it's very flavored like the Justice League for the first episode. And so if you watch the Justice League and then you watch that scene at the end.
Yeah, if you've only used to the Justice League and you come into this, you don't see it coming, and it's super shocking.
Yeah. That's how it worked with me too. I was like, I got to know why he did that.
Yeah.
So they did
What's going to happen now?
Yeah. You know how that people talk about your first sentence when you write a novel needs to be the one that gets them to want to read more. You got to get them in the first page. Otherwise they won't read your book kind of thing. That I thought that they did a good job of having a pilot episode like that. Cause I was like, it was just in like,
because I told you, I was like, that first episode, I was like, what a great first episode. That's a good pilot. Like now I want to know what's going to happen. Like it did a good job. Now I want to watch it.
Yeah.
So I did.
Right. I was glad that it was only 8 episodes long though.
Yeah.
Cause I was thinking it was going to be like a 20 episode season and then we kept watching and you're like, one more. And I was thinking, okay. And then it was the finale and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess the end, like, yeah, this is the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you didn't know there were only 8. I knew there was only 8 and we could probably just do it. So we did it.
Yeah.
It wasn't awful. Doesn't Avatar have like 20 episodes a season, roughly? Some seasons. Yeah, I guess that's more normal in your mind. But
that's like a TV show season. Now that there's like Netflix stuff, it's like averaging like 10 now or so.
Yeah, if you think about it,
Netflix.
The release is different because things like Avatar were televised, and so more episodes make that last longer over a season, like half a year, as opposed to now. That's not normal for cartoons. It does happen, but typically it's all here it is, unless they do one at a time.
Because you're paying like them directly Netflix. Now. They're not getting like commercial money.
Yeah.
So they were incentivized a long time ago when they were doing TV stuff to just have as much commercial breaks as possible and spread it over months so that they can do all the commercials. Money.
They still have shows coming out on television though with
commercials
and stuff. But I guess there's not as much of a need to drag it on that long. Well, I think it's more normal to have no more than 13 episodes for a show.
Well, and it's smart that way because then people are like, hey, if I just pay, because that's what I always used to think is like, why don't they just let you pay like $10 a month and you can just watch the shows you want to watch? And that's what like all these streaming services are.
Here's another reason. Big obvious one. I didn't think about this. Partly to do with how it's released on television, but Avatar, like 20-minute episodes. Invincible, 45-minute episodes. They're at least twice as long. So if you were to cut them in half, now you have 16 episodes. A show I watched most recently, aside from Invincible, was a couple weeks ago. I watched, you hear it too, True Detective Season 1, the Matthew McConaughey thing, because I wanted to watch it. That was like 8, maybe 10 episodes, and they were each an hour long. And it was, anyway. That was good too.
Did you watch that whole show?
Mm-hmm. Well, For some reason, I guessed as much. I don't know why I would have thought this, but I did, and it was correct that the first season has Matthew McConaughey opposite of Woody Harrelson, and then there are 2 more seasons. I was like, there's no way he did 2 more, and he did. The next 2 seasons have different leads in each season. I was like, oh, well, I don't want to watch those. I just want to watch McConaughey.
True detectives.
Good detecting.
Good detectives, yeah.
And the general consensus is that the first season is great and then not as good as the other ones. And I was like, well, that's okay. It's what I wanted to watch. So, yeah, man. That was a fun show. Well, no, it wasn't fun. It was dark, but it didn't leave you feeling that kind of sour, emotional hangover quite as much. But I definitely got an emotional hangover. I was like, oh, I'm all dismal now.
Yeah.
It's a pretty bleak show, but characters are good. I'm just like looking at the acting. I'm like, good job, guys.
Yeah.
I like what you're doing. And anyway, it's very, very enjoyable, like a show should be.
Yeah. I was talking about that exact thing, the emotional hangovers, with somebody the other day. I think it was one of our friends, but then we were talking about how I determine a good movie, and I usually say if it leaves me either with an emotional hangover or I think about it for more than 2 days, if I keep coming back to it and it resonates, then that's what I determine a good show.
Yeah.
So what?
There can be an exception. I mean,
sometimes you watch something so bad that you think about how bad it was for days.
yeah.
But in some ways, the point of media is to impact you or whatever. So even if it's bad,
yeah,
it's
the
bad
worst
enough
in
to
entertainment, the worst thing you can be is forgettable.
Yes.
So
that's what I mean. So that's what I mean by like entertainment or whatever. Even like if you hate a thing, if you're thinking about it and if you put your money into it, then that's good enough entertainment. Like, because some people will watch something for the novelty, even if it's like not a fun thing to watch.
Or they'll watch something because it's so bad.
Right. Like that was the thing with Midsummer, right? You know about Midsummer?
I know that it's bad.
It's like
It's supposed to be good, but it just sucks.
Well, it's one of the, I think it's, a lot of people say it's the most disturbing thing ever, highly publicized and made. It's like a video about cults and stuff. And so it kind of lulls you into complacency. And then it shows you just extremely disturbing things that are technically realistic or whatever.
Mute the piano.
So anyway, everybody who I've talked to about it says that it's the most disgusting thing they've ever seen, bar none. But they all watched it because everybody said that about it. And I was like, why would you watch something just for it to be that? And, some of them came away and said, it's the worst thing I've ever seen, blah, blah, blah. And some of them were like, well, I really liked it. It was really interesting and scary, blah, blah, blah. And it was gross, but it was interesting and I liked it. And the conclusion that I came to, despite not seeing it, is I was like, it must be good because they're still thinking about it. And, it was profound. And all of them watched it for it. And so if it's drawing all these people, then it has to be good, at least in some artistic way. I don't know. Maybe you have different thoughts about what good is, but.
Well, I was just going to say, if you're making some form of entertainment like a movie and you don't believe you're going to make it good, shoot for bad.
Yeah.
I mean, just go all the way, but don't be in the middle, because then it's, yeah.
That's a biblical principle. That's the revelation when Jesus is all like,
when you make a movie.
Yeah.
What is he like?
What he says is, when he separates the wheat from the chaff, and he says, don't be lukewarm, be either cold or warm, because if you're lukewarm, I'll spit you out of my mouth. Like, that's a biblical, I think it's in Revelations where Jesus says that or something.
Don't recognize it. I'm not saying
it's really interesting. I was thinking about that verse today. Someone brought it up and I was like, oh, that's cool to know. It's like, don't be nothing.
Yeah.
But don't be in the middle. Like, it's good to be balanced, but don't be lukewarm, because I don't want that taste in my mouth. Either be cold or be hot, but be something.
Yeah.
And I was listening to a motivational speech about that, which was basically like, hey, go have an adventure. You'll probably be wrong for it, but hey, at least you're not cold. At least you're not lukewarm, just sitting there. And it was like a Bible principle. I was like, that's cool.
I had a thought and I lost it, but it was about that. Anyway.
Yeah. We could stop on a Bible note.
Yes. This show was about mostly the show Invincible, and other shows. It was all about television shows for sure. So we'll call it whatever, but we We don't often do topical reviews, but sometimes you just can't help it because we saw it and we want to talk about it. So I'm glad we did. It was fun.
That was fun. Yeah. It was a decent topic. And
I got a lot of little nuggets out of there.
There was like stuff. There's a highlight for sure. I'm going to put that on TikTok.
1 or 2 good laughs.
Yeah.
I can't remember what they were, but
it was the Flash one.
Yeah. Well,
we'll deal with that later.
There was another one too.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for I ruined it. I got to start over now.
I'm going to just wait.
So sad.
I haven't used these in a while. 1 second.
Don't hit the wrong one.
You got it. I haven't used those in a while.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening, and you will hear us next time. Bye.
Bye.